So the big question for today, live Edge Acacia or butcher block? That's what we're going to take a look at. Most of the vans I built so far, I build using a butcher block. It comes unfinished and I can use it as a blank canvas. So I can stain it however I want, sand it down, stain it and sand it some more. You can really do any kind of a finish you want on the butcher block, and then I seal it with typically a gloss polyurethane, 3, 4, or 5 coats and some sanding in between. In this van right here, I used a live Edge Acacia, which comes pre-finished, and it's a darker wood. It's got some nice color to it already, and so there's a lot less finishing involved, and it does look really nice. Less flexible, but beautiful. I want to know your thoughts on which one you think looks a little bit better. So we're going to take a look at both today. All right, first thoughts. As you get ready to get in the van, that live Edge Acacia has just a really beautiful kind of a color splash to the front of it. That's the live edge, kind of a yellow splash on a dark wood, and it really turns out beautifully. You can see the way I build my countertops. I try to leverage and allow use of the entire top of the counter. So we have a butcher block cutting board, which is just the part of the counter that was left there when we cut it out, and I use a true induction cooktop that I mount down flush with the countertop so that you can use that whole counter space. You know, you can flip this out of the way and really use that whole counter space. Every single space you have in a van, you're going to want to use it. If you flip this cutting board over, it has a cutting board material on the other side. And we'll take a look at that in just a minute. So here we have the deep stainless steel sink. It's a 9-inch deep sink, and super useful for, sink stuff. So we just have 2 cutouts here that we had to do on this material. One cutout for our stovetop and one cutout for the sink. Now the sink cutout, it's a visible component, so we're going to sand that down nice and clean all the way around the edge, and route the top nice and rounded, and put 3 to 4 layers of a gloss polyurethane finish on there to protect that edge. And then we do that same thing to the cutting board that we popped out of there. So there's our cutting board. Same thing, sanded down the edges, rounded the corners with a router, and 3 or 4 coats of a gloss polyurethane. And on the cutting board, when you flip it over, it has a plastic cutting board material glued on there so that you don't damage the material itself, and it's pretty obvious what side is the cutting board and what side is the countertop. So yeah, these turn out really nice. I think this Acacia, I could see using this again in future vans. I think it's got a great color, and for a DIY especially, I think this is really useful because there's a lot less finishing involved. You don't have to sand it, you don't have to stain it, and you don't have to do those 3 or 4 or 5 coats of polyurethane to get that nice countertop across the top. You really just have to focus on the holes you're going to cut out and your installation. So I've started to film inside the van for a couple of reasons. One, you can't hear anything inside the van. Outside, there's people that are grinding and welding and planes flying overhead, and it is just quiet inside the van. So we're going to try this for just a moment. This video is to walk through these countertops and whether or not live Edge Acacia, which is this one here, looks nice compared to the butcher block that I've used in the previous versions. I've got a couple of chunks of wood here. We're going to talk through some of the differences between those, and I want to get your thoughts on which one you like better, the live Edge Acacia or the butcher block. Which ones would you use in your DIY build? So this is a 2-burner cooktop, and normally I use a 1-burner cooktop. This client wanted a 2-burner, so I've got a 2-burner. These are the cutouts that come out of the single-burner cooktop. So this one is butcher block, the traditional way that I build a countertop. This one is the live Edge Acacia. They're both about 1.5 inches thick. In both cases, I'll show you this in a moment, I use a 25 by 50 inch block of wood. I get them from Home Depot. The butcher block costs anywhere from $100 to $200 for the countertop, depending on what kind of a wood you buy. And this live Edge Acacia is $300 It's a nice wood and it comes pre-finished. So that's kind of a double-edged sword. There's less work involved in this because it's pre-finished, and it's got that color. So you get the great color from the acacia with that live edge, but that's what you get. The nice thing about the butcher block is you have infinite capabilities for how you want to stain it, how you want it to look, and then how you want to finish it off. But that's additional work for you as well. A lot more flexibility with the butcher block, a little bit cheaper, but a little bit more work on the back end to get it exactly how you want it. So more flexibility. In most of my vans so far, I've always just used this butcher block and stained it a variety of ways. Always finish it off with 4 coats of gloss polyurethane. But it's good material, butcher block. This van, first time I've used it, live Edge Acacia, pretty happy with it. Because it's pre-finished, I'm not exactly sure how well to deal with scuffs and scratches that might occur in the surface, or how tough it's going to hold up. But this is commonly used in countertops in homes, and I think it's going to look really well and function really well here in the RV, in the van as well. This here, which I'll pop out, is the cutting board that goes over the countertop. So you can tell I like to leave the entire counter space open and available. Space inside of a van is limited, so I like to leverage every bit of it. When I'm cooking, I've got this available for meal preparation, and obviously the stove. The stove is inset and flush with the top of the counter so that you can work with that as a flat surface as well. And if you just flip over this countertop component over the sink, you now have a cutting board that you can use as well to chop things up. You can also set that off to the side and access the sink. So a variety of ways to sort of leverage both the cutting board and the full countertop space of the van with this butcher block orientation. So in the comments, let me know your thoughts. Butcher block versus live Edge Acacia. And if you go butcher block, how do you like to finish it out? Which one are you going to use in your build, and why? Check into my future videos here. I'll put a link down below for how to build this countertop and the components that I've got sunk in here so that you can kind of put this whole thing together on your own. All of the videos on my site is about enabling you, the DIYer, to put together your own van builds. It's an easy process if you kind of know where to go for materials and what to use and how to put those together. None of it's particularly daunting. There are a lot of moving parts, but if you follow along through the videos or you take a look at my ebook, How to Build a Van, it should make that process a lot simpler. Please, if you would, subscribe to my channel. Click like if you enjoyed this video. It helps me to put some content out and to be able to make this content available for you. So thanks a bunch.